Boys, girls, babes, welcome back to the Jenaya Talks Caps podcast. As always, thank you all so much for joining us here today. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode number 112 of the Jenaya Talks Caps podcast. Cannot believe that we've been doing this for that long now. But yeah, I am joined here today by a special guest back again. This is what, your third time on the show now, I believe?
Hmm.
Third or fourth time. So yeah, back by popular demand yet again. It is Sunny, who I introduced originally on this show as an ex-Boston Bruins fan who has now been converted to a Washington Capitals fan. She saw the light. She made the right decision. And yeah, she has been with us on this Washington Capitals journey since what, 2016, I believe.
Hmm.
And so yeah, you're back here again today to talk some Washington Capitals hockey with us. We will get into a lot of stuff here today before the Caps take off on their 3-day holiday break. They have one more game coming up here at home at Capital One Arena against the New York Rangers. That coming at you on Tuesday, December 23rd, and then they break for those 3 days, like I said, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day, before coming back on December 27th against the New Jersey Devils. So a couple of big Metropolitan Division games here coming up. So yeah, we will preview those a little bit right near the end. But first, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about here today. So yeah, just thank you all again so much for joining us. If you have not already subscribed to the show, please do that for us. If you do enjoy the show, of course. If you don't enjoy the show, don't subscribe. But if you do, click on that subscribe button for us. We really appreciate that. And yeah, Sunny, thrilled to have you here again with us today. Why don't you start off by just introducing yourself? Let people know, what you've been up to, what you I don't know, just tell us a story about your Capitals fandom and why you're here and why you're excited to talk about this team that you converted to, like I said, about 10 years ago now. Yeah, 2016.
Of course. Yeah, I think in our previous episodes, I essentially kind of admitted that the Caps are way more fun to watch than the Boston Bruins. Everyone talks about the big bad Bruins, but like the big bad Caps, really, like they're monsters, they're tough on the forecheck. I mean, they're skilled players. There's just so much to see. I mean, who wouldn't want Tom Wilson on their team? Team Canada. But yeah, like I said, it's been 10 years and seeing the team grow and change, it's really crazy because, like I said, it came on 10 years ago, and the team is completely different than what I started watching the team as. But it's always exciting to see who the Caps bring in because it just seems like our management just knows what they're doing. They're like 10 steps ahead of everybody else. And it's just funny because I see all these other teams like, I'm not going to pick and choose names, but there are certain teams right now this year that, you wish your management did a better job throughout the years. And so it just seems that, even though our players get older, we always got young guys coming up from the like this, the other the like I guess the younger tier of like players. So it's kind of exciting to see that there's always younger players and we're never having to worry about, oh my God, where's our offense gonna go? Oh my God, where's our defense gonna go? Because we've always got, where's our goalies gonna go? Because we've got such a depth of different players that we're always ready to kind of put into the mix. So that's really fortunate, that we, like I said, that we have management like that, and I gotta give credit to them because we're lucky to have a group that we do right now because of management. So yeah, just generally excited to see what this new group of guys are going to be doing, when the veteran guys are kind of eventually out. So, but I love my veteran guys. I love Ovi. I miss Backstrom, Oshie. But looking forward to the rest.
Yeah, it's crazy what you said, like the turnover, right? Like when you look at obviously you were around here for the Stanley Cup victory in 2018. There are so few players left now on this team from that championship squad, which was just 8 years ago now,
Mm-hmm.
7 years ago. We're about to head into 2026, but yeah, I mean it's like that short amount of time. It's such a long time in the sport of hockey, right? Like there's so much turnover, and yeah, it's crazy to see how much turnover there's been here. And we've been really fortunate. like in terms of how long we've been able to keep all of our star players for. When someone moves on, it's because they're retiring, not because they're going to play for another team generally. So, yeah, we've been really, really fortunate being able to keep our star players for their entire careers, but even that has to end at some point with retirements and things like that. And yeah, it's just crazy the amount of turnover. Like when you look at that 2018 championship squad that you and I were in the building for Game 5 in Las Vegas, so few players now left over from that team. But yeah, like you said, ton of exciting new guys coming up, which we'll talk about. Some of them we'll get into. I'll throw a scenario at you here later in the episode that we can talk about that kind of has to do with some of those young guys. But yeah, we've got a lot to get to here today, Sunny. I wanted to start off like because the last episode that we did, or the last episode that I did, it's been a little bit longer between episodes than it normally is here. I think it's been about 11 days or so. I usually try to do one every week. But yeah, so since the last episode that I had recorded, the Caps have played, I believe, like 6 games or so since then. So basically, when we last recorded here, we were just coming off of that. We were just coming off of that 2-0 Logan Thompson shutout over the Columbus Blue Jackets. So, yeah, we'll just run through the games quickly here. So since then, they went on to lose in a shootout to the Carolina Hurricanes. That was a bit of a bummer, just seeing as how it feels like whenever this team starts a shootout, you just feel like the game's already over. So you can turn off the TV at that point as soon as the overtime period ends and it's going to a shootout. You know what the result is going to be as a Washington Capitals fan. So yeah, we had that shootout loss 3-2 to the Carolina Hurricanes. Then we go on that mini road trip there, that really tough mini road trip to Winnipeg and to Minnesota. And we just get blown up, frankly, by a combined score of 10-1. So we lose 5-1 in Winnipeg against the Jets, and then we proceed to lose 5-0. So make it even a little bit worse. A few days later in Minnesota against the Wild. So that was not a great, like I said, mini road trip there. That would be a tough road trip for any team for sure. But yeah, those are scores that you don't really like seeing. But then we come home, and I know that you love this one, you being from Toronto and not being a
Yeah.
Toronto Maple Leafs fan. And you know a lot of folks still back there in Toronto. So 4-0 shutout, Capitals win over the Toronto Maple Leafs. That was a really, really fun game, especially for those of us who live up here in Canada, just to see the Maple Leafs media freaking out after that one. Rightfully so, though, by the way, like their team stinks. And then we have the back-to-back, the home and home against the Detroit Red Wings, where I thought the first game of that back-to-back by the Washington Capitals was pretty much hot garbage. Like their start in that game was complete trash. They picked it up over the last half of the game, but it ultimately wasn't enough. There was a disallowed goal in there as well that I thought was not a great call, which kind of, stopped the Caps comeback in its tracks there in the third period. But yeah, ultimately they started too late in that game, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They were asleep for the first half of the game. They finally wake up about halfway through, get some goals, but ultimately it's not enough. And in part, like I said, thanks to that overturned goal. But yeah, I mean, you can't in the National Hockey League, you cannot expect to sleep through the first 30 minutes of a 60-minute game and expect to still be able to come back and win. You're not going to do that very often in this league. So, yeah, I was not overly impressed by that one. And then the second half of the back-to-back there was a much better effort by the Caps, I thought. But ultimately, they still fall short in overtime. But they do get the one standings point, losing in OT 3-2 to the Red Wings in Detroit. So yeah, just not great results really. Since I last recorded here. They're kind of in a bit of a tough stretch here to be honest with you. But before that, right? before that, they had points in 9 straight games, I believe it was, and points in 13 of their last 14 overall. They had a 6 game winning streak in there as well, winning a ton of games in regulation. So they were super, super, super hot before that, almost couldn't lose. And then now they're in a kind of a little bit of a mini slump here, with, with a win mixed in here or there against a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs who can't beat anybody. So yeah, it's been up and down for sure. But I think like we'll talk about it here. I think the season as a whole, for the most part here, has been pretty positive overall. There's been a lot more good play than there has been bad play. A lot more good stretches than there have been bad stretches. So yeah, Sonny, why don't you tell me like just what's your general overall feeling of the season of the season so far? Just how you think that they've been doing overall. And then when we look at these recent games, like let's just these recent two, the back to back against the Detroit Red Wings. What did you see there? And then yeah, just what have you seen this season as a whole so far and how they've been playing?
At the beginning of the season, I think they were kind of like, I guess you could have like say a sleepy start. There were some kind of like games where we kind of like I'd say like for the brunt of it, like we saw the chances at the beginning of the year, but we just weren't burying them. And that's kind of like what we didn't have a problem with last year. Um, but I think they finally obviously got over that hurdle, which was really important. And then everybody started scoring. But then obviously we went on a tear, like winning games left, right, and center. And then it got to a point where like we couldn't like, lose a game. Then it became like we would, never score first, but we'd always be coming back. But it was never a problem because we'd always figure out how to tie the game and then, somehow win the game. So coming back from games, I feel like last year we weren't so much worried about getting back into games, where this year, the last stretch of games, we score first. And then before those games where we were scoring first, we would always be having to come back from, being down 2 or 3. And they were not worried about it because they had the confidence of knowing we're going to score a goal, who cares? The last couple of games now, and ironically, after Leonard leaving from injury, I think that also kind of really put a damper in their like flow of things because the power play was sort of picking up. There was a lot of momentum going into how Leonard was actually being added into the stretch of things with the power play. You could see it sort of generating some sort of chances where before the power play was just trash. So it was unfortunate that he had to leave due to injury, and hopefully he'll be back soon because I do think he's a key piece to kind of being able to have the Caps move forward in the direction of getting the power play going again. Because we can see that the power play is not good. Like we've had some movement lately, but changing a couple guys here and there. For the last couple of games, like the Red Wings games, for example, like you mentioned, it was a sleepy start, and I feel like Caps are not good at morning games. From what we've seen the last couple of years, they just don't do 9 a.m., 10 a.m. games very well, like they do 4 p.m. games.
No, no,
Um,
no, no. What do we think this is? Because this has been going on, like this predates Spencer Carberry's time here. This goes
I
back.
know.
This predates your time here as a Washington Capitals fan. Like this goes way, way back. They have like since I can remember, they have been trash in these morning games, these matinee games. We say morning because they're usually in the morning here on the West Coast. I think for the Capitals in their time zone over, EST, it's more like usually around noon or
Noon.
1 p.m. Yeah, but so early start times as opposed to like a 7 p.m. start. Do they not know that coffee exists or like I know that that's not it because I see the guys walking in with a cup of joe in their hand, so that's obviously not it. But like I have no explanation for this. Like I don't get how a team that plays with so much energy on a nightly basis normally can look like this in these these early games. Like it's crazy to me how they can look so flat and so indifferent when you know that that's not the case. Like they're not an indifferent team. It's not the Toronto Maple Leafs we're talking about here, like we said. But like it's just it doesn't make any sense to me, and it goes back so far. Like I said, it spans several different coaches. It spans several different players, guys, different guys in and out all up and down the lineup coaching staff, like I said, different general managers, even like it doesn't seem to matter who is here. This organization has a problem in these matinee games. So like I believe I said to you as well, during that first one on the Saturday, the first half of the back to back, and I was all pissed off like because they just looked like garbage. And I believe I had even said to you like it's whatever they're doing for their like little morning routine on these games, like you need to try something different here. Change it up because if you come out and you look like that, and like I said, to their credit, they woke up last half of the game. They almost came back. They made a game of it. If that goal doesn't get overturned, they probably do tie it. So like they were able to almost get themselves back into the game to be able to tie it up, but ultimately, like if you come out and play like that for the first half of a game in the National Hockey League, you're not going to be winning a lot of the time. So what do you think that this is? How do you think they fix it? Like, do you have any ideas here, or are you just at as much of a loss as I am?
Honestly, like I can't even say what the problem would be because like if it was the same guys like throughout all these years, you could be like, well, I guess they're just not morning people because I, for one, am not a morning person. I could literally be the greatest athlete in the afternoon, but morning comes and I'm just like, it ain't happening. Like whatever I do, you can give me 10 cups of coffee, I will not be a morning person. But you can't really say that with hockey because like you got different guys on your team every year. So it's not like the same personnel every year. So like I really don't know. I mean, it's the same captain, but like Ovi wasn't there before either. So I'm just like, I don't know, man. It's just something in the water in DC. I don't know.
Yeah, and like I said, it's different guys in and out. Like the lineup has, like we just talked about, how much of the lineup that was here even in 2018 is not here anymore. Like it's all different guys practically. And it's usually not Alex Ovechkin who's the one that's asleep. I will say that. Like a lot of these, like now, of course, he's 40 years old, it's a little bit different. But like historically, like when he was more in his prime, and his prime lasted a very long time, up until he was probably 37 or so. But yeah, like when he was more in his prime, he was typically the only guy in these games that was like generating any offense and, scoring some goals. But the team as a whole would be pretty asleep. And then he's trying to like run people through the glass to wake people up, right? So I don't know. It's if we can't come up with any explanation for it, maybe there's something that they know inside the room that they can maybe do a little bit better. But I feel like at this point, this is a team that cares. We all know that. They do a lot of the right things. Like I'm pretty sure that if they knew what it was, they would have fixed it
Yeah.
already. So yeah, I'm really at a loss. I don't know what to say. And I do think that like not to spend too much time on just the matinee games, but I think like the inconsistency as a whole this season has been pretty wild, right? Like I think it has been very up and down. Like I said, it's mostly been good. It's been a lot of good. Hence their position in the standings, right? They're in a very good position, currently second in the Metropolitan Division. They're one of the top teams in the league again. When you look at all of the underlying metrics, they're very strong across the board, right? So like it's mostly been very good, but they've had slumps or stretches where it's like the scoring has fallen off, everything's kind of fallen off. They don't get buoyed at all really from their power play because they don't really get anything from their power play. So a lot of teams, like, times where you're going through maybe a bit of a slump at 5-on-5, you can still get a couple of goals on the power play and that kind of lifts you in some of these games. But the Caps don't really get that because the power play has been garbage pretty much all season. Other than that, that few game stretch where they finally put Ryan Leonard onto the top unit. And then, of course, he nearly has his head taken off by Jacob Trouba, and he's out of the lineup now. And the power play has been trash again since he had to leave. But yeah, I think just the inconsistency has been pretty wild. Just like in terms of like, I think they started the season like 6-2 or something like that. I believe they were like 6-2 in their first 8 games, if I remember correctly. After that, they went into a massive dip where it felt like they couldn't put the puck in the net at all. And they lost several games. I don't remember now what the exact numbers were, but they lost a lot of games over that next stretch. And then they pulled themselves out of that. And like you alluded to, as they were going through that stretch where they weren't getting goals and they weren't winning games, all of their underlying numbers though were like pristine. Like you could see that they were a very good team. They were generating a ton of scoring chances. They were one of the top teams in the league in like every single metric across the board at 5-on-5, both offensively and defensively. It's just that the offense, like they were getting the chances, they were generating the scoring chances. They just weren't finding the back of the net on those scoring chances. So we slumped through that, but then they come out of it. They keep working, right? They keep working at it. They turn it around. The pucks start going in on all of those scoring chances that they're generating. So they're able to turn it around through, like I said, hard work and sticking together as a team. And then they go through, just kind of a complete opposite stretch where they're like just completely on fire. Like I said, points in 9 straight games, points in 13 of 14 games overall, 6 game winning streak, a couple of other smaller winning streaks. Like they were racking up points left, right, and center. They almost couldn't lose a game. And now here, like I said, ever since that shootout loss to Carolina, kind of kicked things off, where they're in a little bit of a mini slump here again. So yeah, it's been a wild season so far. I do think, however, that I do have to mention that I do think a lot of the inconsistency is probably due to the injuries that they've suffered as well. So like I don't want to completely let them off the hook for some of this stuff, but I do think that that plays a part for sure. Because like, obviously any team, like literally any team is going to be in tough anytime that you remove a top 6 center from any team's lineup. And Pierre-Luc Dubois now has missed almost the entire season so far for the Caps. And then, like you said, you add an injury to Ryan Leonard to that. Ryan Leonard, who you alluded to, it was extremely hot before getting taken out by that questionable hit, we'll call it, by Jacob Trouba. And yeah, I mean, he was like not only. I just feel like Ryan Leonard, he adds such an element to your game offensively in
Mm-hmm.
all situations, right? Like at 5-on-5, he adds real creativity and real punch to your middle six, right? He's such a creative player. He's got so much speed. He's got so much skill. So he adds a lot of pop there to your middle six. And then certainly on the power play, like ever since they put him onto that top unit, the top unit, it was like night and day. Like it was all of a sudden they were generating looks all over the ice, getting power play goals almost every single night. And he was in on almost all of them. Like he was the guy setting them up, making just beautiful cross ice passes and things like that. So he has such great vision with the puck. He's so deceptive with the puck as well.
Mm-hmm.
I have said to you, he reminds me a lot on the power play of a guy like Jack Eichel or like Mitch Marner, like just the way that he is with the puck. Not his overall game, because obviously he plays differently than those guys at 5-on-5. He's a lot more physical. He's a lot tougher, I will say. Like he likes to be in guys' faces and getting under their skin. That's not really Jack Eichel or Mitch Marner's game, certainly. But yeah, I'm just talking about like strictly on the power play with the puck on his stick. He reminds me a lot of those two guys. So removing him from the lineup certainly has hurt the power play a lot, and it has hurt them a lot as a whole. And like there's been a number of other guys in and out of the lineup for the Caps at different points as well. And so it's not just missing the production that those guys bring and the roles that they play, but it's also like all of the line juggling that has to go on because of it, right? Like they're switching lines up almost every single night, it feels like. So Sonny, what do you think? Like, do you think that injuries have played a part in some of the inconsistency this season? How much do you think that has factored in? And what do you think about like how much they're having to juggle the lines here?
I think when Pierre got injured, I don't think the team like at first, yes, the lines were like messed up and we couldn't freaking figure out a line for the life of us. What worked, what didn't work. We were like, who is this sort of guy and like what is he doing on the ice? And then it changed because I personally was like, who is this sort of guy? Like, why do we have him on the ice? What is he doing on the ice? And then
You were actually, let's own this here. You were actually every time that we watched a game together, every time that you would see him on the ice, you would see number 34 and you would just immediately scream at the TV, "Why is this guy on the ice? Get this guy off the ice." And now let's own it. Let's own it. What do you have to say now about Justin Sourdif? What do you think about him? Because I will say that me to an extent, not as much as you, because I was not as anti Justin Sourdif as you were. But I think a lot of Caps fans were kind of had this just because of what they traded to get him. Like they traded obviously a second round pick plus, right? So I can't remember if it was a fifth or sixth with it, but yeah, they gave up, a decent asset to get him. And I think because of that, a lot of Caps fans were from the get-go a little bit skeptical. And because his game, it doesn't necessarily like it doesn't necessarily come with a lot of production offensively, right? But I think just like what we've seen from him defensively and just how hard he works and how much energy he brings. And like, I'll let you talk about it because you were the one saying, get this guy off the ice every single time that Spencer Carberry put him out there. But I've completely like, I'm on the Justin Sourdif train now. I love this guy. I am so happy that we have him defensively. He's like in the top like 1% of the entire National Hockey League right now. He has been so good. So yeah, Sonny, just tell us what you've seen from Justin Sourdif and why you are an idiot for forever doubting this guy.
So last couple of games, like even the games that we haven't been playing, like even we had sleepy starts in like the Red Wings games, but like there's been games the last like say 10 games, or I don't know what exact number, but I was just like, whoa, I was wrong about Justin Sourdif. I literally said it out loud. I was like, what was I thinking? And I was like, I'm on Justin Sourdif. It's just like at first it was just like I think he was trying to figure out his game and what worked, and I don't know how the coaches themselves would like Justin to play. And I think that's what you were talking about when we discussed on our own when we were watching the game. But like he's fast. He's really good at getting the puck deep in, like to the offensive zone, which is what we kind of need to. I'm like we have a lot of fast players, but like he brings that extra speed on his line, and he can play with anybody. Like you can put him on anybody's line and he can play with anybody, which is good to have because you need a player that's versatile with any line that you put him on, especially with injuries. Like you need somebody that can jive with anybody they don't regularly play with. So it didn't at this point, like when we kind of saw the production from him, it didn't feel like we really needed Pierre-Luc with Dubois. Like, I mean, like of course we do, but like it wasn't like, oh my God, we don't have Pierre. But then I think also like in terms of his play, like he literally creates so much just by playing defensively. Like for example, when we watched the Leafs game, I was like, and I think you even said it yourself in one of your recap videos. But I was just like, okay, he's literally the only number 34 that I see on the ice right now. Like Spencer Carberry trusted him so much to put him against the top line of the Leafs. Like he was head to head, like
and, and
Austin
he
Matthews.
and he bitch slapped Austin Matthews up and down the ice all night long. Owned him.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing if you're a Leafs fan.
It was incredible to watch.
Oh yeah, he
Incredible.
was he was all over him like just like flies on a pig, I think is the saying, right? Like
Yeah.
he was yeah, he was stuck to him like glue. He was all
He
over
couldn't
him.
do anything. It was like, you know what it was like? It was like Nick Dowd, Penguin Killer. That's kind of what it reminded me of. That's the
Yeah, and
similarities.
I think like to the point of what you're saying about Pierre-Luc Dubois too. I think Justin Sourdif has come in and like he has made that injury hurt so much less, like at least in terms of defensively, because
Right.
I think he's pretty seamlessly like taken over that shutdown center role and he's really, really, really excelled in it. Like he's like I said, he's in the top, literally if you go look at his underlying numbers, he's in the top 1% of the league defensively. So like he's doing so many good things defensively. He, like I said, he's pretty seamlessly filled in for Pierre-Luc Dubois in that way, in that shutdown defensive center role. But I do think that where you do miss Pierre-Luc Dubois is that Pierre-Luc Dubois brings a lot more offense than Justin Sourdif does, right? So like Justin Sourdif, he's not going to put up 60 plus points for you. But I mean, yeah, defensively, like he's filled in seamlessly and he's done an amazing job. I just think that they would certainly wish that they can get PLD back for a little bit of extra offense. Like I think we're certainly missing him in that regard. He had over 60 points last season. Like he's one of your top six centers. You need him back. But yeah, it's really been commendable to me the job that Justin Sourdif has done. And like nobody's expecting Justin Sourdif to be able to come in and put up 60 plus points to fill that hole. But I mean, I think that we've just lucked out, or not lucked out, because the Caps management obviously saw something in him to pay a second round pick to get him, and they look really smart for doing so now. But yeah, they obviously saw something in this kid that they probably had a hunch that he could do this, right? That he could play this kind of shutdown center role and that they might like him up the center of the ice. I think they had that in mind probably when they paid a second round pick. Who knew that Pierre-Luc Dubois was going to get injured right at the beginning of the season? But God forbid, like who knows where you would be without Justin Sourdif right now? Like because he's come out of nowhere here to be a really important player and to be a really important player down the middle of the ice for this team.
What I was going to say also is that in addition to Justin, sort of like I felt like when Leonard's game got like really like Leonard's game was always good, but I feel like he's gotten even more comfortable playing in the NHL now versus last year.
Oh
That
yeah.
his game was starting to develop way more than it was beginning of the year, and it's just unfortunate because I could feel that the team was literally juiced up in a way based on his play. Like he would, it was almost like he was leading the play. Like he would make plays and like the team would just kind of like build on that. Where when Leonard got injured, I felt like it took away from the juice that the team was getting. And then it kind of reflected on some of the games. Cause like you can see the minute he got injured, it was just like, it was like a little balloon going,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
you could tell that they all felt really really bad for him.
Yeah.
As obviously like he had like rocketed himself into being like one of the front runners for the Calder Trophy, and it was just a really really unfortunate injury that didn't have to happen. Jacob Trouba, talking to you. But yeah, it was just I think there's something to that what you're saying because you need that youthful energy on the team, right? It kind of reminds me of like when Jacob Vrana was a rookie during that 2018 season, and other guys as well, like Chandler Stevenson was a rookie back then. Christian Juice, if you remember him, like they had a few young guys that they had inserted, and they just brought a different energy and a different vibe versus the teams that lost to the Penguins in the second round in the 2 years prior. They just kind of they bring this like yeah, just youthful energy and just kind of like they're kind of naive in a way, but it's in a good way. Like they haven't experienced
Not
any
tainted.
yeah, they hadn't experienced any of the losses to the Penguins that in the previous years. They hadn't experienced any of, you know, the expectations and the weight of that and any of those things. So like they just brought this kind of youthful exuberance and I think Ryan Leonard brings a lot of that as well. And I also think he's just a really skilled, really physical, really confident player and he adds a lot to this team and they definitely miss him. I did want to ask you about because we were talking about like Justin Sourdif and Pierre-Luc Dubois in the middle of the ice for the Caps. Um, Dylan Strome, okay? This is I didn't want to touch this one to be honest, but I feel like no one is talking about this and I feel like we need to talk about it. I don't know what's going on with this guy right now. Like he just he's really not been good for when was that game against I'm just gonna look it up. When was that game that we played against Montreal? That was back in
Oh, that
November,
was
I
like,
believe, right?
yeah, at least last month at least.
Let me pull it up here. Um
I mean, he had an assist on last game's goal.
yeah,
Or
so
was it?
it was November 20th. We played in Montreal and we beat the Montreal Canadiens 8-4. So yeah, November 20th. So literally
More than a month.
over a month ago now. I bring up the Montreal game just because that to me, that was the last game where I thought Dylan Strome looked like Dylan Strome, like the Dylan Strome that we've had here as a Washington Capital for a few years now. You know, that game in Montreal where his line mate, Alex Ovechkin, scored the hat trick, right? The Caps won 8-4. Like I said, Strome had 3 assists in that game. And then, of course, we found out after the game that his wife had actually given birth during that game, while that game was going on. Dylan would not have made it back home to Washington from Montreal in time for the birth. And so his wife, I guess, told him to play in the game, that she would be fine and to have a good game and get the win. And then when it was over, that he would have a new baby daughter. So amazing story. Amazing wife. Women are so amazing. But no, just an amazing story. And like I said, he gets the 3 assists in that game, assisting on Alex Ovechkin's hat trick. He played an awesome hockey game. His Caps win, like I said, 8-4. And since then, like ever since then, he really just has not been the same player. And it's pretty jarring, actually. Like, I'm just gonna actually pull up his game logs here. Um, I know he's less than a point per game on the season now, where he started really hot. Now he's up to 34 games played. He's got 26 points. So it's not horrible, but it's not like what we've come to expect from Dylan Strome. And he's only got 6 goals. I've noticed he's not shooting the puck a lot at all. He has a plus 13, so that's good. Like he's still doing the right things defensively. But yeah, the production offensively is not really where you would like it for your number one center, and it's not where we've become accustomed to seeing it for Dylan Strome. So I'm going to literally pull up the game logs here, and I'm going to go back to that game against Montreal. So yeah, so he had the 3 assists against Montreal. Okay. The next game, 2 days later, versus the Tampa Bay Lightning, 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 points. After that, against Columbus Blue Jackets, 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 point. The next game after that, versus Winnipeg, 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 point. The next game versus the Toronto Maple Leafs, 0 goal, 1 assist, 1 point. Next game, New York Islanders, 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 point. Next game, Los Angeles Kings, 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 point. Next game, San Jose Sharks, he finally scores a goal, 1 goal, 0 assist, 1 point. Next game against Anaheim, 0 goal, 1 assist, 1 point. Columbus Blue Jackets again, 0 goal, 0 assists, 0 point. Carolina Hurricanes, 0 goal, 0 assists, 0 point. Winnipeg Jets again, 0 goal, 0 assists, 0 point. Minnesota Wild, 0 goal, 0 assists, 0 point. Toronto Maple Leafs again, 0 goal, 0 assists, 0 point. Detroit Red Wings, 0 goal, 1 assist, 1 point. And Detroit Red Wings again, second half of the back-to-back, 0 goal, 2 assists, 2 points. So if I'm doing the math correctly here, this most recent game here, the second half of the back-to-back against the Detroit Red Wings, that is his first multi-point game. He had 2 assists, no goals, 2 assists, so 2 points. That is his first multi-point game since that game in Montreal, where he had the 3 assists. So that is a span of over a month. That is a span of, I'm just going to count how many games. One.
Wow, when you put it like that.
That's a span of 15 games that he has one multi-point game. And if we're to add up all the points here, that is 6 points in the last 15 games. And 3 of those points came in these came 3 of those points came in the last 2 games, this back-to-back against Detroit. So 3 of those 6 points came in the last 2 games. Before that, it was 3 points in his last 13 games. And he has 1 goal over the last 15 games. It's actually worse than that because he didn't score in that Montreal game. So we can actually go back. So 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So the last game that he scored in before that was against the Carolina Hurricanes on November 11th. So he has 2 goals in his last 21 games played, 1 goal in his last 20 games played. And it was against the San Jose Sharks. So I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I didn't even want to bring this up because I love Dylan Strome. Like I don't want to do this. But I just feel like nobody is talking about this. And I feel like it's probably because it is a touchy subject because we all love Dylan Strome. And so nobody wants to talk about it. I'm sure that people have noticed this. I'm sure that I'm not the first person who is noticing this. It's just it like when you actually lay the numbers out like that and actually total them all up like that, it's jarring. I don't know where he has gone. I don't know if it's like because it does coincide very nicely there with his wife giving birth.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if because it's such a like jarring contrast of before daughter is born and after daughter is
Hmm.
born, that he's just a completely different player before and after. I'm wondering like if the poor guy's not getting any sleep at home, maybe.
I
Um,
mean, that would make sense. I mean, he can't have such a, I mean, unless it's like he's going through something else, but like if he was playing pretty well before up until that game, like, and now he's like kind of like you said, based on the numbers, it's kind of hard to, I mean, he's been a pretty consistent player for like the last
yeah,
couple of years
yeah,
that we had
yeah.
him. So, I mean, to pick him out, like, I mean, yeah, I mean, the production kind of should be there, but at the same time, he's been so solid for so many years that, I guess you can kind of give him a break, but at the same time, I'm like, maybe figure out if it is sleep, if you're not getting any sleep, maybe figure out a way to get some sleep. But at the same time, yeah, it is concerning, but at the same time, I mean, I would want to see the next couple of games to see if he kind of gets figured out. And I'm sure that the coaches and staff have noticed. I would think so by now because it's, your coach sees what happens and what doesn't happen and can see the comparisons. I would be more concerned if it just progresses versus like, because I mean, if he did get a couple of points last game, it's kind of better than what he was producing, which was nothing the last games before these two matinee games. So, I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel bad to be kind of pinpointing on Dylan Strome, but I get your point. Um, I don't know.
That's why I said I don't want to do it because like I love the guy. I think he cares immensely about his performance for this team
And
on the
keep
ice.
in keep in mind he's a stats guy, so I'm sure he knows his own
Oh,
stats.
of course he does. 100%. Yeah, no, but that's why I said like that I don't want to come on here and do this because I love Dylan Strome. And to your point, like he has been so consistent for us ever since we traded for him. He's not a guy who disappears for long stretches of time. So that's why I'm not saying this to shit on him. I'm just wondering like where has Dylan Strome gone? And is this something that maybe somebody can do something to kind of help him. Like, I don't know, just because it lines up so perfectly with when his daughter was born, I'm just wondering, like, in the back of my own mind, if it's because he's not getting any sleep at home, which is so common when people have a kid, right? Like you and I know, like our best friends, just had a kid, and there's not a lot of sleep involved in that, right? So it's I can definitely see that being the case. Um, and you would hope that if that is the case, that that's all it is, and that there's nothing, actually bad going on in his personal life, that it's just like a little
Hmm.
bit of a lack of sleep and it'll get better as his beautiful daughter gets a little bit older. But yeah, it's just, it just has me wondering, like, just where has the Dylan Strome that we have come to know and love so much, where has he gone to? Because it's been like over a month now that he hasn't looked like himself. So I'm hoping that it's nothing serious and that he'll get back to being the same guy on and off the ice. But yeah, it's just like when you put the numbers on the screen like that and actually look into it like that, which I had been avoiding doing, by the way. Like I knew that it was not good. I knew that like the points had not been there recently, but I had stopped myself from like actually pulling it up and actually looking at it and actually adding it up because I didn't want to do it. But yeah, so that's why I'm doing it on the fly here. Normally I'm more prepared, but yeah, it's just it's not something that I wanted to do. I just felt like we had to at least mention it because I feel like when we're as fans, we're kind of looking at the team, over this little mini slump here for the last several games and kind of wondering, like, where's some of the scoring gone? Like, where's the offense and where are all the goals? And where's the power play and stuff like this. And it's like, it's obviously it's not all on him, but he is your number one center. He is a huge, huge, huge part of your offense. And he's a huge, huge, huge part of your power play as kind of the, the conductor on that power play along the half wall or down low. Everything kind of runs through him on the power play, and everything runs through him certainly on that top line. I think when people look at like, why is Alex Ovechkin not scoring recently? A lot of that is to do with Dylan Strome and him not getting the puck from Dylan Strome. Like Alex Ovechkin now is 40 years old. He's not a player who can make everything happen himself anymore. He can do it in short spurts, but he can't do it like for, you
All
know,
game.
21, 22 minutes a night like he used to. He needs somebody to get him the puck when he gets himself into good spots, which he does frequently. And I'm just noticing while I'm watching these games that when he gets himself into those spots to receive a pass, he's not getting the pass. So,
Like he used to.
yeah. And that's something that Dylan Strome is normally very good at, right? So I'm just wondering, like in my own mind, I've been wondering where has that gone from Dylan Strome and where is this player that we love? Where has he gone? And then I was debating, do I want to come on here and mention it? Do I not want to mention it? I just felt like we would be doing our fans an injustice, all of the great Capitals fans out there. I felt like we would be doing an injustice if we didn't at least mention it because it is a big part of the team and of where has the offense gone, right? But enough of that. Let's move on to the next thing. Okay, where do you stand on the, and this is the last thing we'll talk about today. We mentioned off the top, you mentioned about how you love that this team, this organization seems to always do a really good job of like always having the next guys ready and coming up through the system. They have really great prospects, right? So they have a lot of talented young guys in their system right now, waiting to be called up. So now, where do you stand on this issue of, because it's come up a lot recently, this issue amongst Capitals fans and maybe amongst Capitals management of making like the quote unquote big splashy trade to try to win now versus being patient with all of these young kids and grade A prospects that you have coming. Because like there was a report this past week. I'll just preface this with this. There was a report this past week from Elliot Friedman, I believe it was, right? That the Washington Capitals have made it clear around the National Hockey League that they want to grab the best offensive player that they can. And now I would argue that the best offensive player would have been Quinn Hughes, right? I said that to you. But we did cover on this show, and for all those of you who missed it, you can go back and you can catch that episode. Like I said, if you missed it previously, it's up there, both on the YouTube channel and across all podcast platforms. If you prefer to listen in audio, you can grab it there. Or like I said, on the YouTube channel, Jenaya Talks Caps, it's up there as well. So go back, catch that episode if you missed it previously, where we're talking about the Caps at the time had rumored interest in Quinn Hughes, because we did cover pretty extensively on that episode why a Quinn Hughes type, or Quinn Hughes exactly, Quinn Hughes himself probably was not the best fit for the Capitals specifically, right? So he might have been the best offensive player available, but he probably, in my mind anyway, wasn't the best fit, like I said, for the Capitals specifically. And we laid out all of the reasons why we thought that, or I did. I can't even remember if I had a guest on that show or not, or if it was just me. But anyways, it was all laid out in that episode, why we didn't think that Quinn Hughes was the best fit for the Capitals specifically. And evidently the Caps did not want to give up the kind of assets that it would have taken to land Quinn Hughes. So I think like probably what Elliot Friedman means is that the Capitals want to grab the best available offensive player who won't cause them to give up a Cole Hudson or an Ilya Protas in return. I don't think that they want to do that at all. So I think that's what Elliot Friedman means, is like they want to grab the best available offensive player that they can who won't cost them those types of assets, right? But the Caps do have all of their first round picks available as well. in terms of trade bait. They have all of those first round picks still available, and I have heard names like Alex Tuch, even names like Tage Thompson. So like, what do you think, Sonny? Like as a fan of this team, where do you stand on that, on trading for, possibly a guy like an Alex Tuch or a Tage Thompson this season, versus, maybe waiting it out, trying to win with what you already have, which frankly is already a very good team as is, trying to win with what you already have and waiting for all of those A-rated prospects that you have in the cupboard already, to get here. And then maybe you're looking at a potential dynasty in a few years' time. Like, where do you stand on that? The big splashy trade today to try to win now versus keeping all of your prospects, being patient, and potentially building a dynasty a few years down the road.
So there's two things to that. So I like the team now. And obviously we have so many prospects like Marishchenko, Andrew Crystal, Ilya Protas, like you said. Um, you know, I don't feel comfortable gambling with that, to be quite honest. Um, so there's two, like I said, there's two parts to it. So I think the reason for anyone to quote unquote rush would be to maybe offer Ovi to see if they're viable to go for a run for another cup. Aside from that, I don't see why you would want to rush getting, Alex Tuch or like a Tage Thompson. Like, sure, they're great players, but I'm like, not worth losing my prospects over, to be quite honest. Like, I don't know how old they are. Like, I know Tage Thompson's young, but I'm not too sure how old Alex Tuch is.
He would
But
he would cost a boatload too, Tage
yeah,
Thompson.
so
Yeah.
like, I'm not really like I've seen Tage Thompson play, but like I've also meant like heard you've talked about Ilya Protas on the ice, and like
He's a lot like
I don't
Tage Thompson.
know, I don't know, but like I don't feel comfortable losing what we've already built. And the thing with that is, most importantly, is that these guys that are our prospects have already learned the capital system of how we play. Where versus like you're going to give away all these prospects that have learned the system to bring a guy in that doesn't know the system. So now you're starting from scratch with the one guy versus having like say two guys or three guys that you're going to maybe ultimately give up when you could just wait. So I personally think if you're going to go for a run, I would just keep it how the team is right now. If it doesn't cost you anything to get an offensive player, sure, but not our prospects. Like if you're going to maybe, like I don't know who you would give up, but like I would not give up our prospects for like Tage Thompson or like an Alex Tuch, in my opinion, just to go on a run this year. Like again, the only reason would be to get Ovi a cup before he retires. But other than that, I don't see any point in rushing when you can possibly, like you said, go on a run and have a dynasty in a couple of years. Like, so, I mean, that's kind of where I stand. Don't be like the Leafs and throw everything away, and now you can
And then
see
not
it,
win
it ain't
anything.
working. So,
And then not
yeah,
win diddly squat, and now you're
yeah,
fucked. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I totally agree. I'm of the mind that like, and it's interesting what you said about like trying to get another cup for Alex Ovechkin, because I can see both sides of it. I think the fans are like, some fans are pretty split on this. And I think it is with good reason, because like Alex Ovechkin has given everything to this franchise, obviously. He's the greatest player in the franchise's history by far. It's not even close. He's the all-time greatest goal scorer in National Hockey League history. He's won every single award that you can possibly win for this team. He won the franchise's only Stanley Cup to this point. He won the Conn Smythe Trophy as the MVP of those playoffs. He played a huge role, obviously, in them getting that Stanley Cup. Like he's been loyal to the franchise for his entire career. He could have gone absolutely anywhere that he wanted to go play. And he could have gotten any amount of money that he wanted to get. And he didn't want to do that. He wanted to stay here. He wanted to remain loyal. He's taken less over and over again. On his contracts, he signed a 13-year deal off the bat to stay here. That was crazy. For a player of that caliber at that time. Like that was almost unheard of, to commit yourself to one franchise for that length of time. And then comes time at the end of that for him to be a free agent, and he takes even a little bit less on his next contract, rather than, getting the raise with the salary cap having risen so much over those 13 years. So he's given so much to this team and to this franchise. I think that I can see where people are coming from, where they're like, you want to get this guy another Stanley Cup at all costs. But to me, I can see that point, and I'm sure that we would all love to win another one with him still, playing a role on the team, being in the lineup still. Um, but I'm kind of like at the same time, it's like it's to a certain point though, right? Like I totally want to do what we can to get him another Stanley Cup, but I don't want to toss away our future in order to do it, if that makes sense. Like because he's not a guy who doesn't have a Stanley Cup, right? We've already won one. He's already won one. He's already got the Conn Smythe trophy. Like I said, like his name is already engraved on that Stanley Cup. It's never going anywhere off. Like he's always going to have that, right? So if this was a situation where he had been this loyal to us and he had set the NHL's all-time goals record as a member of our team and all these things, and he's done everything for us and we didn't have a cup yet, then I'd say, fuck yeah, throw everything out the window to try to get this guy a cup. He needs his name on the Stanley Cup. But he already has that. We already have that with him. Like nobody can ever take that away from him. Nobody can ever take that away from any of us. He is a Stanley Cup champion. And I don't get really where this notion comes from that like because of course Alex Ovechkin wants to win. He wants to win the Stanley Cup again. Obviously. He's a great player, he's a great leader, he's a great competitor. Of course he would want to win the Stanley Cup again, but I don't get the sense from him that like from what I've heard from, people who are kind of in the know and know a lot more than we do, like they're more close with members of the organization or members of the team. There's not a sense from that I get from those people that he would even want the team to throw their future away. Like he cares about this franchise. He doesn't want them to just, it's not all about him.
Yeah.
That's like, he doesn't think that it's all about him. He doesn't want it to be all about him. He wants his younger teammates who he cares a great deal about. He wants them to also have opportunities to win down the road and to have a consistent opportunity to win over many years, right? He wants these guys, his teammates that he cares about, his brothers, as he says, his family, to have a consistent opportunity to win down the road as well, whether he's there or not. Like he doesn't want them to just throw away their whole future just so they can try to make one run this
Yeah.
year. So I don't know where that notion comes from. It's just kind of like a media spun story that people like
So,
to that people outside of Washington like to try to put out there because they want crazy trades to happen and they just try to like speak these things into existence, right? But yeah, I mean, I think that like in terms of like I was personally very comforted to hear that like the team, the management of this team apparently was not down to trade a Cole Hudson or a Ilya Protas, or certainly not a Ryan Leonard. I was very comforted to hear that they were not down to trade any of those guys for a Quinn Hughes or for anybody for that matter, outside of maybe Connor McDavid. But like, they're not gonna. I was very comforted to hear that they are not going to trade those guys, like those really, really, really high end prospects. Basically, they are hanging up the phone when teams ask about those guys. So that was very comforting to me because that lets me know that they're not stupid. Um, no, seriously, like, we were so comfortable for so long with Brian McClellan being the general manager because we knew what to expect from him. Like we knew that he was a very smart guy and that he was not going to make any like any irresponsible decisions, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
like George McPhee.
Oh God. Yeah, it's Philip fucking Forsberg all over again. No, but like we were so comfortable for so long with Brian McClellan in that role. He's still here. He's the team president now, so he kind of oversees everything. But there is a new guy in the general manager's seat in Chris Patrick. And I think a lot of fans, because he hasn't had a chance yet really to like there hasn't been enough moves made by him that we can really judge him one way or the other yet. So I think a lot of people are still a little bit nervous, like not knowing what to expect from him. But I have comfort that Brian McClellan is still above him and able to like, put the kibosh on anything that's too crazy. But yeah, I was comforted to know that Chris Patrick was essentially hanging up the phone when people were asking about Ryan Leonard, Cole Hudson, or Ilya Protas. So that was good to hear. So if a trade, I guess what I'm trying to say is from my perspective, if a trade for like a win now type of player, like an Alex Tuch or a Tage Thompson is going to include any of those players, like those A-rated prospects, I'm hanging up the phone as well. I do not want to do that. If it's something that's built around, a lesser prospect, like some of the lesser prospects, or around like the first round picks that we have that are like futures, like the first round picks that we haven't actually had to use yet,
Hmm.
coming up, in whether it's 2026, 2027, 2028. We have all of our first round picks still available. So if it's a trade that's centered around moving picks, like first round picks, then I'm all for that. Do that. That's fine. Like we at some point here, we've actually kind of almost reached that point already where like we kind of have almost too many really good prospects right now. Like there you reach a certain point where like it is too many and it is too much and you're never going to be able to fit all of those guys in on your team. So you start having to make decisions about who to keep and who not to keep and things like that. So I think they've built up such a great stable of young players, highly rated prospects here that they have a lot in the cupboard already. They can totally 110% afford to toss a couple of first round picks out the window if it brings you a Tage Thompson or brings you an Alex Tuch or whoever. Insert whatever name here that you want. So if it's a trade centered around something like that, like around picks versus prospects, then I'm totally down with that. Do that. But if they're asking for like a Ryan Leonard, a Cole Hudson, an Ilya Protas, and Andrew Crystal, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. No, hang up the phone. It's not happening. And I think just from what I've read online, I think most Caps fans agree with that and are not of the mind to trade any of our highly rated prospects. So yeah, I think pretty much all of us agree on that. It sounds like you agree on that. Do you have anything to add there, or we're pretty much on the same page?
Yeah, like pretty much what you said, like picks versus prospects. Like, I mean, do we really need any first round picks anymore? Like, I think we got an abundance of prospects to kind of choose and pick and choose from. I mean, I don't know what you think about that, but
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like we're kind of in a position here now where like if we make our own first round picks, it's kind of like the rich just getting even richer, you know?
yeah,
Like we already have so many great prospects that it's
yeah,
like this is kind of the time where you would take some of those picks and it's probably better to move some of those picks for a player that's going to help you win now, right?
yeah.
So I think you can have the best of both worlds. Like I think that you have enough in the cupboard that you can keep, all of your A-rated prospects and you can just deal in first round picks, second round picks, whatever, to get a guy that you want in here for right now. So yeah, I mean, I think those are a couple of names that are interesting. People that are listening can drop in the comments if there's anyone else that piques your interest for as far as trades. I've heard a lot of crazy things thrown out there recently, but yeah, I was as great a player as Quinn Hughes is. I think, like I said, we covered it pretty extensively on that previous episode, just why he wouldn't really have fit here, just because it's not really what we're looking for, right? Like if you're gonna spend like I said, first round picks, whatever it may be, to get a player in here, an offensively capable player, I would much rather it be a forward than a defenseman for sure, because I think that's where we're a little bit short is on like that high end talent up front. Our back end is so good, Sonny, so good.
I know.
So
Chikrin, my man. Sandine, my man. Faravari, my man. Roy, my man. You know,
they're all your men.
Carlson. Eh. Pretty much.
They're all your men. Yeah, no, I think I tweeted out the other day. I'm like, man, like Jacob Chikrin and Cole Hudson on the same team is going to be fucking disgusting. Disgusting. Disgusting, like for the opposition, not for us. For us, it's great.
Yes.
Disgusting for the opposition.
I'd be
Uh,
scared to see that on the back end. I'd
yeah.
be scared if I was in the other team, considering Chikrin's shot and Cole Hudson's, or not Cole, yeah, Cole Hudson's play, like just being able to move around, like just how he does, from what I've seen, it's
Oh,
pretty deadly.
that World Juniors that we watched last year, he was
I'm
unfucking
excited to see him
believable.
actually. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see him this year as well. I
Yeah,
remember
he
seeing Ryan Leonard. I was like, oh my God, you were right about Ryan Leonard. That was the first time I watched him last year during the World Juniors. I was like, oh man.
Well, I remember I was telling you, like, I'm like, Ryan Leonard, Ryan Leonard, Ryan Leonard. And you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll see when he gets here. And then you watched him in the World Juniors and you're like, oh my God, yeah, get this guy in here right now. Gas up the plane, get him in here. No, he's so I'm honestly really excited for him to come back. It sounds like he's going to be back pretty soon here. I'm really excited for him to come back, not just because it'll help the team win more games again, but also because I was just having a fucking blast watching this kid playing every night. Like he is so much fun to watch. He's so entertaining.
It's so
Um,
funny when he's laughing at other opponents when he's just bothering them.
yeah. Yeah, just
Getting under
yeah,
their skin.
getting under everybody's skin. He's perfected their reverse hit now. Like he's just dropping people every time they come to try to take a piece of the rookie and try to hit him. Like he just fucking flattens them. So it's so great. And then he's got the offense to go with it. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens here down the stretch. I did just want to pick your brain about the trade scenarios though, because I know that's been getting a lot of heat lately. People have been talking about that. As you know, there has been a few trades happen around the league recently, so the trade chatter picking up a little bit. But even like as much as us like Capitals fans have kind of been whining recently about like a lack of offense, like people have got to remember, like even with the slump that we've kind of been in here recently, and like maybe it feels like we're not scoring that much. They're still a top 10 scoring team in the NHL. Like they're still in the top 10 in goals for per game.
Well, yeah,
So
the chances that they're like they are generating chances when they're
yeah,
not like half asleep, like the
but
first half of the game.
I'm talking about like as much as Caps fans are complaining about like, oh, we're not finishing, we don't have any finishers, we can't finish, we can't score. Like they're top 10 in goals for per game. That's not chances, that's actual goals. They're in the top 10. So it's not as bad as it feels
Yeah.
sometimes, you know. Yeah. So yeah, I would be careful with like wishing for, you know, tossing three or four A-rated prospects out the door for a Tage Thompson, but I love Tage Thompson. If you can get him for like I said, first round picks and a lesser prospect, do it 100%. But yeah, I'm not having a conversation about like a Ryan Leonard, a Cole Hudson, Ilya Protas, Andrew Crystal. No, I'm out. All right, babes, that is going to be it for this episode. I have no idea when we record these on Zoom how long we've actually been talking for, so that's kind of the problem. I always forget to like check the clock before we start, so I never know how long we've been going for. So apologies if it's a long episode, but hopefully we got to a lot of stuff that piqued your interest. And yeah, just thank you all so much for listening or for watching if you're watching on YouTube. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed yet already, please do so. If you do enjoy the show, you can subscribe either like if you're listening in audio only, if that's the way that you prefer to consume your content, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, any of the major podcast audio platforms. Like I said, if you prefer to listen in audio only, or if you prefer to see our smiling faces, you can watch over on YouTube as well. The YouTube channel is under the same name, Jenaya Talks Caps. So yeah, thank you all again so much for being here. Sunny, thank you so much for being here. It's been a great show here yet again. Why don't you say goodbye, good night, whatever, and we will get out of here.
I'm just looking forward to the next game, you guys. I mean, it's good to be a Caps fan. I'm always grateful. But let's hope we can win a game tomorrow. Let's go, Caps.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one against the New York Rangers. I believe their most recent game, I think they lost to, was it Nashville? I think it was Nashville.
Canucks. Canucks.
No, I think that was before. I think they just most recently lost to Nashville. I'm not going to look it up now because who cares? But I'm pretty sure they lost to Nashville.
Shesterkin seems to always have a game against us, so we'll see. I
Hmm.
don't know.
I don't know if
Hopefully he's not in net, but I'm sure he's going to be in net.
I don't know if that clown Matt Rempe is back yet or not. You would never know because you never see a highlight of him scoring a goal or anything because he never does. But
You know, he reminds me of when Ryan Reeves was on Vegas. And they're like, oh, Ryan Reeves. Like, okay.
ooh,
That's what he
Ryan
reminds me of.
Reeves watching from the press box as Tom Wilson hoists the Stanley Cup on your ice. Yeah,
Ah.
ooh, scary, scary dude. All right, babes, we will get out of here. Thank you all again so much for being here. Until next time, and as always, let's go, Caps.